Hi, and welcome to Summer Session Calc 3. This is going to be fun. We're going to cover all of Calc 3 in 6 weeks. Hang on, it's going to be a fun ride. I am Professor Forte. I'm making an introduction video to give you a couple of things. First of all, a chance to see my face. There is somebody else on the other side of those emails and discussion posts and all that. And also to give you an introduction to the course. Oftentimes, these are the things we would do on the first day of class in person, go through the course, the expectations, where to find everything. But since we're all working asynchronously and everything's done through Canvas, I wanted to take a few minutes to show you where everything is in the course. Maybe you've taken online courses at Raritan Valley before and you're kind of familiar with how things work. Maybe not, but I at least want to go through and show you where everything is, give you some expectations of the course, and then a little bit about what Calc 3 is all about. Essentially, it's the three-dimensional version of Calc 1. We do get into vectors and things like that, line integrals, but the chunk of the course in the middle with integrals and derivatives is just the three-dimensional version of the things you did in Calc 1. So let me share my screen, and we'll start taking a walk through Intro to Calc 3. Now that we're back in the main screen here, you can see what my computer screen looks like, and we'll kind of take a little walk through Canvas and see what this course is all about. So you'll see right away that this is my main screen. This is where you find everything for all of your courses that you're going to take. I'm also teaching a Calc 1 course on campus, Monday through Thursday from 11 to 2, so I will be on campus during those hours teaching in person, and then your class is over here online. So when you open up the course, it has all the different modules. Your modules may be closed like this. You can see I set it up by week, and then there's final exam information. The very first thing here, because the course information link should be gone after the first couple of days of class, is the syllabus and course information. This course information that I'm doing on this video, most of it is repeated in this message here. Some people like to read it in text. Some people like to see it visually. So for each person, there's another way that I'm delivering this message. Sometimes the text is nicer if there's only like one or two things you're looking for later in the semester. The video, I think, is kind of nice too, especially if you're not used to using Canvas. I'll show you where everything is. So that course information is going to be up at the top for the whole semester. Underneath it is the syllabus and then the syllabus supplement. I'll explain that in a minute. We do use My Math Lab for the online homework and also for access to the textbook. So here's a registration handout, some troubleshooting guides that I put up there over the semesters, things that people have come up with that I think are helpful. We use a program called Mathematica for graphing the three-dimensional shapes, so you should be able to access it from home. If something doesn't work, please let me know. Sometimes July 1st is the crossover date for various things that happen on campus, and when we all come back in July, after the 4th of July, not everything always works the way we think it does, but it should. So this is how you click on the link. I'll give you the information as to how to get in there, your email address and such, and then you should be able to download the program to your computer. It does take up some space, so just be aware of that. You can also use Mathematica on campus. Some of the labs have access to that as well. Withdrawal and refund schedules, we're in summer session 2, 6 weeks, so if that's something you need, click on that. That has everything for the whole summer session. And then there is an optional orientation to My Math Lab. I put that down here. If you're familiar with My Math Lab, you don't need to do it. If you haven't used My Math Lab before, then click on that. It's just a dozen questions and it walks you through how to set everything up. So the syllabus for Calc 3, you can open it up like this, or you can even just download it and then open it in Adobe. The course is up at the top. You'll notice that the course is asynchronous, so there's no set time and place and everything else up there. Best way to reach me is by Canvas email, especially in second summer session. I don't always check the Raritan Valley email account, the raritanval.edu, but because your class is online, my other class sends me stuff as well. I usually check Canvas, and plus I have the app on my phone that doesn't require the authentication thing that the Raritan Val email does. So if you go over here where it says inbox and click on that inbox, I can't do it because then you're going to see emails from other students. But if you click on that inbox, then up on the top there's a little thing that looks like a pen. Click on that pen, and that's how you can send me emails. You can actually email other people in the class. If you're working together on a lab or an activity, or you were absent from class and you know that somebody takes good notes and has offered to pass them along if you need them, you can contact people that way as well. So not that I'm never going to respond to the Raritan Val emails, but especially if something is time sensitive, you don't want to have to wait a couple of days for me to finally make it into that other email box. Send it through Canvas. I'll get it right away. I'll be able to respond. I said I can't respond to personal email addresses because I don't know that it's actually you on the other end. Generally, weekdays, we say 24 hours for a response, maybe a little bit longer on the weekends. Sometimes you might happen to email me while I'm on Canvas, and I get back to you within 5 minutes. But, it's not expected I'm going to live 24/7 on the computer, although sometimes it does feel like that. I will announce sometimes office hours either in person or online, depending on what your needs are. If there's something that you need, send me an email and we'll see if we could set something up. The textbook is the third edition of the Briggs & Cochrane book. If you took Calc 1 or Calc 2 here at Raritan Valley, then it's the same book. So if you bought the Life of the Edition, or I think it's 24-month access, you should still be able to access it through Canvas. The My Math Lab course will be linked with Canvas. So you see up here it says My Lab and Mastering. If you click on it, it's going to say something like Getting Started. Here, let's open it up in a new tab. Mine will not say Getting Started because I already started. I already set up the course. So when I open it, it says Open My Lab and Mastering. Well, when you do it, it'll say Getting Started. You click on the Getting Started, and it'll give you some purchase options. If you already have access to the book from, let's say, taking Calc 2 in the first summer session, you should be able to log in with your Pearson account information, email address, password, and all that, and it should automatically link the books up. You should see the little bar moving across, and at the end, you'll have linked up the courses. If not, you can purchase it through the bookstore. You can purchase the access directly through Pearson. It does give you an option if you scroll all the way down the bottom. There's a little checkbox that says something like, give me 14 days free access. You can do that, especially if you're like, I don't know if a summer session course is right for me. Rather than pay to access the book now, go for that 14-day free access, and then if you decide after 2 weeks, this thing is working out, then at some point you're going to have to pay for the remainder of the semester's access. All right, when you open up that My Lab and Mastering, it opens you into My Labs directly, which gives you a couple of things. I'll show you about the homework in a minute, but you can access the homework here as well. Right? When you go in, yours will come up with a list of assignments, right? 13.1 to 13.3, 13.4 to 13.6. You click on them, and then once they're available, you'll be able to open up those assignments. The other thing that's here is the e-text, meaning that you don't need a paper copy of the textbook. You can go through the e-text. So we start the course at chapter 13, oddly enough. And so there's the interactive e-text, and then there's also a web-based version too. So here's the interactive e-text. You can see that you can look through the course material. There's section 13.1, and then when you go through, there's section 13.1-2, so the second concept in 13.1 and so forth. There is also an e-text that mirrors your book, and what that means is basically it's got the page numbers on the bottom of it. And so when I talk about, let's go in and do some review problems, let's look at page whatever, where are the pages? Well, you're going to want an e-text that mirrors your book. So when you click on the e-text content, e-text that mirrors your book, it takes a second to open it up. It looks kind of like a PDF. It looks kind of like a textbook. Look at that. So on the side here where it says table of contents, you click on that. And then if you want to open up chapter 13, section 13.1, there it is, right? And it looks just like your textbook. And it's got page numbers on it, right? Page 804. Meaning if you're looking for, page 822, you can just type in 822, hit enter, and whatever's on page 822, magnitude of a vector. There we go. There it is. Right? And so the exercises and the stuff in the book look like you would expect them to. Right? There we go. If you don't need the page numbers, and the interactive book will actually let you move figures around and such. If you need the page numbers, or if you want it to look like the textbook, there it is, how it looks like the textbook. So that whole textbook is available online. You don't need to purchase a paper copy of the book. So when you go to, especially if you're doing it through the bookstore, make sure that they're not selling you a paper copy that you don't need. Let's just say that. All right. So if I come back to the home, right, and I go back to my syllabus, what else is in this syllabus that's interesting? Student learning outcomes. Read through these. We boiled the entire course down to 4 student learning outcomes. Grading policy. There's going to be 3 tests. You're going to take those tests on campus in the testing center. Altogether, those 3 tests are going to count for 40% of your grade. The online homework is done through My Math Lab. I just showed you a little bit about My Math Lab. We have discussion posts, paper labs, which is funny because they're not actually on paper because you're doing this course online, but it keeps the namings consistent. And then the final exam is cumulative, 30% of the grade. You'll do that in one of the last 2 days of the course. You can see how percentage grades work. So what goes into this? Well, first of all, homework is done online through My Math Lab. And you'll see the due dates in the syllabus. I'll show you when we get to the bottom. When the homework closes, then I'll take those grades and I'll transfer them into Canvas so that you can keep track, assignment by assignment of what your grade is. I would suggest keeping a notebook where you show your work so that you can refer back to it when you prepare for the test. It's not so much on a 6-week course like this, but this will cover a lot of ground. And by the time, especially when you get to the final exam, when you go back and you say, well, how did I do those integrals from chapter 13 or derivatives and vector stuff? Well, if you have a notebook where you keep your homework in there, that'll help you, because you may have just typed something in online that said, yes, it's okay, I accept this, but how did you do it? Homework is due when it's due. You'll find that as sort of a theme that goes through my courses. I try to keep things so that you're pacing yourself. If I keep reopening homework assignments, then you're going to end up falling behind. And one thing you do not want to do in a 6-week course is fall behind. Material comes fast, so keep on top of things. So unless there's a reason, like a medical excuse or something like that, that you can provide a doctor's note for, the homework is due when it's due and is not reopened. So the same thing with labs. There are 8 labs throughout the course of the semester. I encourage you to get help from me on the labs. Go over work with me before you submit them. That does require a little bit of advanced planning, right? If the lab is due on a Tuesday at 11:59, I may not be sitting by my computer Tuesday at 11:45 for you to go over things with me. So do give me enough time to look at it. You can work with somebody else on a lab, hand in one lab for both participants. They got to be organized. They got to be legible. I've got to be able to read it. So you're going to scan the work. If there's Mathematica graphs that go with it, snip those and put those into the file as well. Word files or PDF files, that's the only thing that I've set Canvas to accept. I learned a lesson through COVID that there's about 500 different types of files that you can send me. My computer only reads so many of them. So you may have a program on your computer that works perfectly well for you, and I go to open it and all I can get are errors or big X's where the images are supposed to go. And the same thing with Canvas. The Canvas reader will read certain files, it won't read all the files. So in order for me to make comments on your file and tell you, like if I'm taking points off, why am I taking the points off? Word and PDF files work best. So it will close at 11:59 and 0 seconds on the day that is due. So as much fun as it is to wait until 11:58 and see if that circle will stop spinning by the time 11:59 hits, it's probably better to submit a little bit early to make sure that everything goes through. Discussions. There are discussions. I think I put 8 of them up for the semester. The first one is just introduce yourself. That ought to be easy enough. One of them is about calculus and potato chips, which is pretty cool. These things are designed to give you an idea to comment, to respond to other people's messages. Now, you don't have to respond to other people's responses, but you won't see anybody's responses until you post something. So you are going to need to post something. Post your entire response first. Read it over, make sure that you're using complete sentences, make sure I can figure out what it is you're saying. And then once you post that, then you'll be able to see everybody else's responses. So if a discussion looks blank, it's just waiting for your response unless you happen to actually be the first person to respond. All right, tests are taken in the testing center on campus. Usually I give you 2 days to take a test. You got to set up an appointment with the testing center, be aware of their hours. Now, it is possible you're taking an asynchronous online course. You may have a required conference for work or something that you have to go to during one of the test days. Well, you'll know that in advance, right? And so send me a message and give me maybe some information about why it is that you wouldn't be able to take the test on a certain day, and we can work something out. Please don't wait until like the last day of the test or after the test has passed and then say, by the way, this is what happened, because I will return the test pretty quickly. And if I've already returned the test, it's tough now for me then to let you take the test that everybody else has already gotten back. So again, planning in advance is important. You can use scientific calculators in the test, no graphing calculators. When you go down to the testing center, they're going to ask for a photo ID, so make sure you bring that with you. Most of the time, you'll have either driven there or you'll have a license with you in one form or another. That works fine as a picture ID. There is an honors option for this course. So there is no honors version of Calc 3. It's not like there's a Calc 3 honors, but there is an honors option. And if you're in the honors college, you know that you need a certain number of honors courses or honors option courses to fulfill your honors college requirements. You can do that through this course. So some point in the first few days, you've got to send me an email, let me know that you're interested in honors option. And then what will happen is you'll fill out some paperwork. The chair will sign it. I'll sign it. We'll get them to create an honors option section of Calc 3, transfer you into that section, and then merge the courses together so we don't lose any of the content. So in the first week, if that's something you want, let me know right away so that we can get the wheels rolling so that the transition is seamless. And then there'll be a couple of extra projects, some labs that are a little bit different between honors and non-honors. And at the end, you'll get those honors credits for the honors college. Final exam is cumulative. you'll take the test either on one of the last 2 days of the semester. The dates are listed in the syllabus. I expect that you're going to log in probably every day to every other day. The syllabus supplement has more information on the attendance policy, and it has the last day to withdraw for the semester also. So they say for every hour in class, you should be spending 2 hours outside of class. If this were a regular semester summer session class, we would meet 11 to 12 hours a week. So you're going to use that time plus double that preparing. So nobody's counting hours, but sometimes people want a ballpark of, I'm investing time into this course. How many hours should I be investing? A lot, because remember that you're not only counting the time that you would have spent in person, watching videos and working through problems and stuff, but also the time outside of class, working on homework, studying for tests, and so forth. So the syllabus supplement that I mentioned has a whole bunch of other policies. I started putting the syllabus supplement together for my in-person classes because I got tired of copying 12-page syllabi. So you notice this syllabus is, it's 6 pages long, but the idea of the syllabus supplement is that there's things that maybe you don't need to know as often as the stuff in the syllabus, but it's necessary. So what's in this syllabus supplement? This thing is also 6 pages long. Academic accommodations, that actually is important. If you have reasonable accommodations, make sure that you get me a copy of it right away. We have a Center for Accessibility and Inclusive Education. It's over in the College Center. They have an email address. If you're a visiting student, you have accommodations from your school, you need to bring them down there and get a letter that has my name on it, the course, the semester, and everything else, and then it gives me a list of accommodations. So in summer session, especially at the beginning of the semester, they're going to be swamped, so get down there as soon as you can. I said in the bottom here that no accommodation is official until I get that letter from the center through you, and accommodations are not retroactive, so you can't come back halfway through the course and say, now I have these accommodations, I'd like to retake tests, resubmit assignments. We can't do that. Okay, so make sure you get that in if that impacts you. Okay. Reminders about violations and academic dishonesty and things like that. You shouldn't be doing homework for each other or copying each other's homework. If you're working together on a lab, that's great, but each person should put in an equal amount of work. It shouldn't be one person doing the lab and somebody else putting their name on it. And, feel free if the lab pair isn't working to work with somebody else. Attendance policies, you should be putting in the time that's necessary in an online course to learn the material successfully. Delayed openings in an online course really only impacts us if something happens to the college on the day of a test and the testing center isn't open right away. So it could be a power failure, it could be we just went through a water main break around the corner from my house that had the water shut off in my house for almost 2 full days. That could happen at the college. It's actually happened before. So if that happens, they could call it delayed opening. Other than that, in an online course, delayed openings really doesn't impact us. Incomplete grades, you can read through that. Student code of conduct, especially in the course like this for the discussions, I'm assuming that you're going to be civil towards each other. And other than that, we don't really meet in person. There is a tutoring center. Sometimes it's called the Academic Support Center. This is a link to that. There's also a phone number. They have on in-person and online tutoring, and I will put something about the tutoring center when they send it to me in the very first module on Canvas so that you can access it. There's information about support services, a food pantry on campus, career success, so a career center. So all of these are good links, but I put them in the syllabus supplement rather than the primary syllabus itself. Okay, so let's go back to the main bit of information here that we're curious about. If you open up that syllabus, right, syllabus Calc 3, scroll down the last 2 pages, and here is where you find everything about the semester. So my suggestion is print out these last 2 pages. You can print them front to back. You'll have one sheet that has everything on it for the semester. So you'll see in the first column are the things you're doing. In the second column are the things that are due. Now, I taught this course in person in summer session 2 last year, so 2022. Meaning that when I taught the lectures in person, and I had it broken down by day so that we had a reasonable amount of material in each day. I kept the same idea here. So you'll see most of them run Monday through Thursday because that's when the on-campus courses run. Sometimes I have additional work that's due on Sunday night, figuring that you may want, rather than have it due on Thursday afternoon, maybe you wanted that additional time. If If you want a free weekend, then get the work done by Friday afternoon, and then you'll have Saturday and Sunday free. So here in that second column are the things that are due. When they're due at 11:59 p.m. except for the tests themselves. So the first discussion is due at the end of the day on Tuesday. The first online homework is due at the end of the day on Wednesday. There's another discussion due on Thursday, and then a lab, and then homework due on Sunday night. And so I broke this apart into pieces because rather than having all of that due at once, it becomes kind of overwhelming to know that you have that much stuff due. It becomes a little overwhelming on this side too to grade it all if it's all due at one time. So, 25 labs plus 25 discussions plus 25 other discussions begins to add up quickly. So if you do it a little at a time, I can grade it a little at a time. And by the time we get to the end of the semester, we'll all have completed the work that needs to be done. The first test then is on chapters 13 and 14. You're going to take that in the testing center on a Thursday or a Friday, and I'll go through how to set up those tests. I put the reminder in here that test 2 is due by Friday. This homework 15.1 and 15.2 then is due on Sunday night by 11:59. Then we move on to, so the first unit is on vectors. Some of this stuff, especially if you took linear algebra before you took this, you're familiar with dot products and cross products. Okay, that's good. Plenty of other new things to learn, curvature and normal vectors. Then I introduce you a little bit to chapter 15 so you can work ahead. Then we take the tests on 13 and 14. Chapter 15 is the Calc 3, is the three-dimensional version of limits and derivatives. Okay, except now instead of tangent lines, we have tangent planes. Max and min problems, instead of being the highest point on a parabola, become the highest and lowest point on surfaces. Okay, there's Hessian matrices involved in this. So some of these discussions I tried to make them a little bit more interesting in terms of, I also have a background in history, so when I see math things, I also think about where did these things come from? Like, why is the Hessian matrix called the Hessian matrix? Who came up with it, and why are we using it? So some of those discussions are just to provide sort of a background of mathematics that, besides just doing calculations, somebody came up with these things, when and why and how. All right, so the first 3 weeks are on the first page. Conveniently, the second 3 weeks are on the second page. We get into Lagrange multipliers. If you remember Lagrange error bounds from Calc 2, same Lagrange, different topic. Right. I put the test 2 on August 1st or 2nd. Reminder that when it's due. And then we get into integrals. Well, if one integral in Calc 2 is good, then 2 integrals is even better. So we do double integrals. We do triple integrals. It depends on the region that we're integrating over, and it depends on whether we're using polar coordinates or rectangular coordinates or parametric to evaluate. We even have spherical coordinates when we get to triple integrals. So that's what chapter 16 is. Okay, you can see due dates and so forth. Test 3 is on the 9th or 10th of August in the testing center. And then the last unit is on vectors and vector fields. Green's theorem is probably the last of the major topics in Calc 3. Then we do get a little bit into the three-dimensional versions of those line integrals and vector fields. There'll be a review packet up for the final exam, and then you take the final either the 16th or the 17th in the testing center. So a couple of other things that go through here, because I can see this video is getting long already. In that course information, I gave you all the information there. You notice each of these modules is going to be set up the same way. They're long, but I always put a little overview that you click on and gives you a little bit of information as to what's going on this week. The lectures are all linked. I have YouTube. They're all linked to YouTube. So I made them based on these PowerPoint notes. So I put the PowerPoint notes separately. If you want to use the PowerPoint notes as guidelines, you can. The videos at the beginning are a little bit more general. They get more specific as the content gets a little bit more challenging. So I separated the videos from the notes just to make it a little bit more organized. Then I put a section for discussions and online homework so you can access the discussion. You can open the My Math Lab homework directly from Canvas. When you click on it, it'll say it's not accessible now because this course hasn't opened yet. But when you open it, you'll see the problems right here and you can click on them. The only downside to that is sometimes you can see it opens a window and then a window and a window, and now here's a window in a window in a window. If that happens and the problems start getting really small, especially if you're doing it on a small laptop screen, just go into My Labs and Mastering, open it up, and do the assignments that way. Once you link it the first time, it'll be fine. So you can actually link the courses by just clicking on the first homework assignment, and that's how it'll ask you to go in and put in the information to either purchase access or use that free access. So you can either go in the My Lab and Mastering or click on the homework that way. All right, what else is in here? Well, you'll see the labs are listed there, the discussions are listed there, so everything that you need to click on is right there. And then each of the weeks is organized the same way. Overview, video lectures, PowerPoint notes, discussions and online homework. I said labs, reviews, and resources because in week 2, towards the end of week 2, you're going to be getting ready for the first test. So here's the review for the first test, answer key to the review problems, and then when you click on test 1, it reminds you about when to take the test, bringing an ID and such. There's a link to make an appointment at the testing center. You don't have to. You can go as a walk-in, but if they know that a lot of people are coming because it's a test day for several of us probably, then they may bring an extra person in to help check people in a little bit faster. It'll say appointment time 5 minutes. That's just the 5 minutes to check in. It's not, you're going to have 2 hours for the test. And then if you want general information about the testing center, including hours, I put this link here. And so I copied this into each of the 3 tests. That information will be available for you. All right, so each of the weeks goes through. You can close the modules when you're done. It makes things a little bit neater. And again, week 3 will have the stuff from chapter 15, the PowerPoint notes. You can see the videos get more involved as we go further along and as we get further into the material. Okay, discussions and homework are all linked. If I have people that want to do honors option, eventually there'll be a couple of projects. And once I find out who it is, I will post those projects online too. And then at the end, there'll be final exam information. I have not posted all the final exam information, but I will before you get there. And then you can access it that way too. A couple of other little things on the side. The syllabus will have the syllabus for the course up there, but then it'll also have a listing of when everything is due. So ours actually starts up here at the first discussion, first set of due dates. So you can see there's something due almost every day, but it's usually one thing, sometimes 2 things. And so you can follow the syllabus that way as well. If you click on grades, it'll show you your grades. Keep up on it week by week to make sure that you're not surprised. I'll put in the homework grades. As soon as I grade tests, I'll put the tests and the labs in. When you get the labs back, if you click on grades and then view feedback, usually I'll leave you little comments in those blue bubbles, like when you take an English test. So you click on those little blue bubbles and you'll be able to see if you lost points, why you lost points. Okay. The only other thing down here that might be interesting is if you click on people, you'll see a list of everybody in the class. So if you know that you were going to work with somebody and you forget what their name was, that's another way to find people as well. All right, so hopefully this answers your questions, gets you some basic information about the course. And if you have things that you need to go back and view, you could always go back and take a look at this video or go to this course information welcome message and read the information there. And as soon as I get done recording this, I will post the video up here as well. All right, thanks for being part of this class. Look forward to seeing you on July 10th.